think what is most fun about making videos and uploading to YouTube is remaking it about 50 million times because you don't like any of the content that you've provided. Anyways, let's jump into the nitty-gritty. Second video of the day, diagnosing CTIS problems on my truck. Here is the pressure switch for anybody that's wondering. This is on the driver's side under the battery box on your tank. I jumped it out temporarily for testing purposes. I was getting an error code on the TIM under the CTIS section stating that pressure was not being detected from the switch. It was essentially stuck open. Ohmed it out, can't get it to run, so ended up jumping it out. TIM is happy saying that the switch is closed now, but the other issue that I'm having is it says there is a short in the control solenoid or the control solenoid wiring. And what I'm about to do is figure out which one it is. I had this exact same issue on my M923A2. The truck would initially inflate, check pressures, whatever, that was fine, but it would never actually discharge or deflate. In this case, I can't even check my pressures so that I can inflate or deflate in the first place. So there's usually some solenoids right behind this cover. This is your CTIS, essentially your valve body. You have a supply line, your front air line, and your rear tire air lines. And you have on the side right here a twist lock connector that supplies power, cuts off power to the solenoids accordingly. And you have a pressure transducer. It's a 3-prong wire set up on it. Anyways, start by draining all your air, disconnecting all 3 lines, remove the 4 nuts, 2 on each side, and get this out on a bench to where you can actually test it. The alternative is you could fight with it and try to get the ohm meter probes onto these little prongs right there, but to get an accurate reading, and since there isn't a wiring diagram published, I think it'd be much easier on a bench. I'll cover all of this here momentarily. All right, got it off. You'll need a 1/2-inch socket to get the nuts off, and also a 1/2-inch wrench or another socket, possibly a soldier bee if you have assistance available to hold the backside, keep it from spinning. Get those 4 nuts off and disconnect the 2 connectors. It'll slide right off. And here is my handy dandy workbench for the day. I can't remember just how many solenoids the 5-ton had. It's been years since I was into the CTIS manifold on it. But this one has supply, discharge / deflate, front, rear, and control. Control will be for actually checking what is in the tires, and then it makes a decision whether to inflate, deflate, depending on whatever pressure settings you have. Anyways, to check this thing out, you are going to want to have a ohm meter handy. You can follow the wiring back up to the plug. All the wiring is labeled, and then inside of here, not sure if you can see it with YouTube quality, but there will be letters that you can coordinate with, and you can ohm it out. Or if you have a nice sharp set of probes on your ohm meter, you can just very carefully pierce through the rubber of each solenoid and ohm it out. I'm not sure what effective range they're supposed to be between. It all depends on how much wear your 24-volt coil has inside of that solenoid. But if you see completely open, 0 resistance, or infinite resistance, or 0 short ground, or anything like that, like in my case, the control is 1 ohm resistance. The rest of them are like, in my case, 400 to 700 when I was checking them all out. So I'm going to replace all 5 of these solenoids And I'm also going to take the time. I don't like all this rust and corrosion. I'll remove the solenoids. It's held down with Allen heads. I'll break this apart very carefully. Inside of there, you're going to have some O-rings. I'll install new ones, lube them with a little bit of food grade Petrogel. It's just what I have on hand, and I will report back with the results. All right, I have good news. This is a series of videos spliced together in case y'all can't tell. The solenoids are a little bit different from the 5-ton CTIS solenoids. The stem is actually just a little bit bigger. It is a 7/16. I happen to have a couple of these solenoids laying around, so I was able to chuck up a 7/16 bit, push through it. Works good now. Further information I have since found out is when it comes to this harness plug, the top one, which is what appears to be alpha, is the common. It's the ground. So if you want to take this thing off and check it all out without really taking it all apart, I mean, it's not hard. It's a couple 5/16 screws, but you can take your ohm meter and ohm from the top post to the rest of them. Careful not to touch the outside and throw your reading off. But my solenoids range, including the new one, between 60 ohms and like 65 ohms. So keep that in mind when checking out the resistance. If you see anything, you know, pretty much a 1 ohm or infinitely open, you know you have a problem with it.